The killing of unarmed teenager Trayvon Martin has sparked many different discussions. We want to focus on one aspect of the case here that could impact homeowners and their associations, particularly those of you with these neighborhood watch groups. George Zimmerman, he was a self-declared neighborhood watch captain, right? He called police to report a suspicious person just before shooting the unarmed 17-year-old in what Zimmerman claims was self-defense. So the question is, can Trayvon Martin's parents file a lawsuit against the gated community where Zimmerman shot their son? Attorney Ken Direktor, he specializes in homeowner associations. He joins us from Plantation, Florida. So Ken, explain to us, if you can here, could the homeowner association be liable in the Trayvon Martin case? Do his parents have a case here?
Well, let's resist the temptation to comment on facts that haven't been finalized yet, but the answer to your first question is yes. The association, any association, can be liable if it engages in negligent conduct. Here you had a horrible pattern of criminal activity. If I read the reports correctly, there were over 400 calls to the police in the 14 months that preceded this event. Clearly, the association then had some duty to do something to provide security. Now, I don't know what deliberations occurred at the level of the board of directors at this community. Did they consider private security where they would have had licensed, professional, insured security provided by an outside company? Or did they have no choice based upon economics to use a neighborhood watch group comprised of volunteers? The issues that will determine liability for the association are really two. Number one, what happened between George Zimmerman and Trayvon Martin? I realize that a special prosecutor has brought charges, but until some civil or criminal liability on the part of George Zimmerman can be established, the association doesn't have liability. Secondly, the association, when it instituted Neighborhood Watch, if I understand the reports correctly, brought out the Sanford Police Department to discuss how the Neighborhood Watch program should be implemented.
Right.
Did George Zimmerman comply with those guidelines? Did he deviate? I can't imagine the Sanford police suggested that you could provide a neighborhood watch program using neighborhood volunteers who were carrying firearms.
All right, so Ken,
the second question, I'm sorry, go ahead, Suzanne.
I just want to make clear here, if you were a homeowner in that community, in that area, could you be charged here? Could you be liable if you're just a part of the neighborhood? Well,
you have to understand something. The association is a corporate entity that is comprised of the homeowners. So the liability of the association, which is the crux of your question, ultimately gets passed through to the homeowners to the extent that it's not covered by liability insurance.
Okay, so
that's part of the problem here, Suzanne, is you have victims everywhere, I believe.
Right. So that's a yes answer then, right? They could be liable if you were just somebody who was in the neighborhood.
Well, the individual owner is not personally liable. You're liable as a contributor to the costs of the association. If a judgment is entered against the association, it is collectible from only one source, and that's the homeowners.
You say that the homeowners and the surrounding community are victims too. Can you explain how?
Well, first of all, they've suffered from what sounds like a pattern of crime for over a year now. They had to figure out some way to respond to that criminal activity, and they chose a neighborhood watch program. They've had assaults, they've had burglaries, and now they've had the most catastrophic of all events. They had the shooting of a 17-year-old young man right outside their doorsteps. They're also living with this pattern of criminal activity, and they're struggling to find a way to get on top of it and do something to stem the tide and improve the quality of life in this community. With all due respect to everyone else involved, I think that makes them victims too.
All right, Ken Direktor, thank you so much. Appreciate your perspective.
Thank you for having me. My pleasure to be here.